What's up, guys? We're here with Nyles from the Shaker Hymns. How you doing today, sir?
Good, man. How are y'all?
Been doing great. Yeah, guys are out here opening up for William Clark Green here at Bubbas Brewhouse. How does it feel to be opening up for William today?
It's fun, man. I've spent the last 2 nights with them. We played in Beaumont 2 nights in a row. I was doing acoustic opening, and we've done a lot of shows with Will before. We've been extremely blessed and also cursed to be on the road with them because those guys can party, and they're in a tour bus and we're in a band, so it hurts a little bit more the next day, but it's going to be a lot of fun tonight, I'm sure.
It's not as comfortable, I'm sure.
No way.
All right, everybody, sleep over on Williams, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I got spoiled the last 2 days. I was playing acoustic with them, so I was in their bus, but it's back to the van tonight for 5 hours on the way back home. It'll be fun.
So what's the van setup like?
Oh, it's awful. It's we have a driver and a passenger seat, and we kind of configured the back to have the benches facing each other because most of the time we hate each other, but at the end of the show we're all so drunk that we can kind of hang out and have a good time. So we play guitars back there, but it's rough, but everyone's got to do it, It's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys ever think about like recording? I know Zach Bryan, he recorded Oklahoma City on the Belting Bronco.
Right.
You ever saw that? You ever thought about recording like in a van, like driving down the road some songs?
We just started talking about potentially doing a podcast.
Really?
In the van, yeah, on the road, because we spend so much time just driving from place to place, and we have some very absurd conversations. So we've been thinking about starting a podcast.
I wouldn't know anything about starting a podcast.
No way, man. No way. Y'all beat us to it.
Yeah.
So where did the name Shaker Hymns come from?
It's kind of a long story, but to make it short, we were at a point where we were practicing so much we couldn't get any gigs. We were practicing. We've always wanted to be like a hard-working band. Shaker Hymns. The word shaker comes from like movers and shakers, hustlers, people always staying busy. And so we called ourselves like the hymn of the working man, or Shaker Hymns. It's like working man's music.
That's a really cool. I would have never guessed that. That's
Appreciate
a really
that,
cool,
man. Like people always think we're a church group or something. We're gonna play gospel music, which we don't get me wrong. We have some awesome sermons in the van on the way back home from shows, but we're not gospel music at all.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe dive bar gospel, but that's about it.
I think we had Trinity Oak Revival on in March, and they kind of had the same thing because they got revival in the name. They're like sometimes people like call us thinking we're a gospel group. Like, well, not quite. We got a song called "Leaving Hell."
It's someone's religion, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, what inspires you to like write music? What kind of inspirations do you have as a songwriter?
Man, kind of everything around me. I've been writing, I think, kind of my whole life. I started writing like short stories when I was a kid just for fun, and I started playing guitar when I was 9, and that led into a very, very deep passion for guitar.
Yeah.
When I started playing in bands and stuff, I only wanted to be a guitar player. That was my goal, and for whatever reason, every band I was in didn't have a singer, so I just did it to fill the role, and that turned into writing and wanting to do original music. And then I learned about Jason Isbell pretty early on. I think Southeastern had just come out when I kind of graduated high school, so I started listening to that, and then that just led me into this deep world of Americana, Texas country, older country, that whole thing. And I've always been fascinated by storytelling. I kind of grew up around a lot of storytellers in my family. We weren't like dirt poor or anything, but we didn't have a whole lot of money. I didn't play video games growing up or anything. We'd sit around a table and people would bullshit all day. So I think all that kind of put together, having a love for music, a love for storytelling. The next step is obviously songwriting, and it kind of took off from there, and I've been doing it for 11 years now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I think that's something I really admire in songs, and I think Rhett can agree that I love a song that tells a good story.
Sure.
Like, a lot of songs today kind of seem empty sometimes, which some of those songs that kind of have less of a meaning can still be good, but I love a good story song.
Me too, man. I'm a sucker for it. It's hard for me to not be pretentious when I'm listening to songs that don't have a whole lot of substance. And I went through the phase that everyone goes through, I think, where you're like, damn pop country and all this or whatever. Now I don't really care that much. If it makes someone feel a certain way and they like to listen to it on their boat or whatever it may be, that's fine by me. I'm not gonna put it on in my car or anything, but whatever works,
There's a George Strait song that I don't know if a lot of people have listened to. I know it's a George Strait song, probably everybody's heard it. But have you ever heard Arkansas Dave?
Yeah, that's actually. I'm pretty sure his son wrote that song.
Really?
I think George Strait's son wrote that song. I'm pretty sure he did. But yeah, it's a badass song.
Yeah, I love that song. It's a great story song.
So who are you listening to? Like when you hop in the car, go down the road, what are you putting on?
Depends on the day. Our entire band, myself included, we have a pretty broad, eclectic mix of tastes. I grew up listening to like classic rock and country. It was kind of my wheelhouse. My dad was a big songwriter fan, so like a lot of the early stuff like James Taylor. There's one other that I'm blanking on, but it really just depends on the day and the mood. Myself, I'm a huge like classic country fan, so I'm always at some point during the day listening to like Merle Haggard or George Jones. I'm also really big.
George Jones, right above us right now for everybody.
Oh man, that's awesome! I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
that, and I'm also really big like funk and R&B fan. So I listen to a lot of Wolfpack. Our band does too, and a lot of 2000s R&B to set the mood. But it's kind of all over the place. It just depends on the mood. But the mainstay is like classic old school country. Actually, really anything between like 1968 and 1977, somewhere in there.
What's your favorite kind of old artist out of that?
Merle Haggard's probably my top. Big Zeppelin fan, big Leonard Skinner fan. We kind of base our live show around more of the rock and roll stuff. But I think of the older guys, it's not even a doubt in my mind. It's Merle Haggard for sure.
It's kind of hard to beat Merle Haggard.
Yeah, man, you can't beat the Hag.
Yeah,
it's classic for a reason.
Yeah.
Nothing. Go ahead.
He's probably gonna make fun of me or something. That's usually what he says. I think like a couple of my favorites from that era is like Glenn Campbell. I'm always a really good Glenn Campbell, and I think Ronnie Millsap too. I think he's more 80s.
Man, Ronnie Millsap is so underrated.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love Ronnie Millsap.
Yeah, Ronnie Millsap's so good.
Yeah. What's that song? There's no getting over me.
Oh, that's my favorite.
We wore that song out in the van for a while. We tried covering it too, but we're not good enough to play slow like that. We just play loud and fast and rock and roll.
Yeah. So what would you classify? Would you classify your sound as like being like a Red Dirt Southern rock, or you guys more of like more the rock side, or something completely different?
It's tough to explain. We've talked about it a lot in our band because we kind of do everything. Are y'all going to be here for the show tonight, I imagine?
We're not sure yet. We might have to run back. We got a 3-hour drive home.
Oof,
so yeah.
I got you. Well, if y'all do decide to stick around, our live shows, it's very like interface rock and roll kind of stuff. We do a lot of guitar solos and jamming out, but a lot of the songs, like the albums, are kind of based, more in songwriting. That's just like a roundabout way of saying that we've had a hard time classifying ourselves because we do so much and we have so much influence. So at the basis of it, we just call it roots music. It kind of derives from the blues, derives from country, rock and roll, all that stuff. But I mean, if you really look at like all that stuff, it derives from the blues. So we get classified as Americana, Southern rock kind of stuff, and we don't really care what people call it as long as they like it and listen to it.
I know, like I've seen the Ken Burns country music documentary, like back. It was
fantastic.
Like really derived from like kind of bluegrass, blues. It's kind of country's really kind of a culmination of these things. And turned into its own genre. Been through so many ups and downs of what it actually is, and it's completely fluid. And I think it's kind of awesome to see people like you guys and like most other artists kind of in the scene blend blues, kind of alternative, classic rock, country, bluegrass. Like it's kind of why I really love kind of like the underground country.
Yeah.
A lot of people just call it red dirt. I guess people in Oklahoma mainly call it red dirt, but Texas country music, like it's all a blend of its own thing. I kind of love it.
I think everyone's just kind of doing what they want to. There's no pressures. I mean, there are some artists, I guess, that started in the red dirt scene or the Texas country scene that have gone on to, be represented by major labels now. But for the most part, it's a working industry where everyone is creating how they want to, and I think the fan base has a lot to do with that. People like listening to genuine stuff, and
yeah, exactly.
That's what kind of drives the pulse, I think, of the Texas country or red dirt, whatever scene you want to call it, is the fan base and like a willingness and an openness to new stuff and the creativity and stuff like that.
I think we were talking to William about that earlier, about like kind of how Zach Bryan's kind of coming on the scene a little bit more right now, and how like there's kind of a reemergence of like some more like heartfelt songwriters out there that are kind of getting bigger, like Zach. And then like it's like, well, I've been listening to Zach since like 2018 or 2019.
Really?
It's like, yeah. So it's cool to see him kind of get big and the scene kind of appreciate it a little bit. I
mean, it's just it's believable. Like I don't know every single Zach Bryan song. I've listened to him, but there's not a doubt in my mind that every word he's singing he believes.
Yeah.
You know, and that translate. I think people can tell right away whether you studied, jazz at Berkeley or you have never played a note of music in your life. People can tell like genuinity, and it bleeds through the music, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really cool that like it's starting to become more like people are wanting that more. Like people want the singer to be the songwriter.
Right.
And it's like I know that like they used to be like a whole genre is like singer-songwriter stuff. I'm like, I want all my singers to be the song. I want them all to believe what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I want them all to be like, yeah, I went out and got drunk with my friends the other night, or my wife left me. I'm broke. Like I want it to. I don't want it to happen to you, but if it's inspired, it's got to be true.
The life of the tortured artist, as they say.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
So what are you doing outside of music? What kind of hobbies you got?
Man, I'm a golfer. I'm a bad golfer, but I like golfing a lot. Music, especially at the stage we're in right now, it takes a lot of my time. We're still, hustling and kind of taking every offer we can get, being as busy as we can. But aside from that, I like to golf. I have 2 dogs I like hanging out with. I like to sleep when I can. I don't get to do it often, but I do like that. Just run-of-the-mill stuff, man. It sounds cliche, but I love fishing. I love just hanging out, drinking beer with my friends. Not a whole lot. And you listen to the songs and see a band on stage, and it might look like we're way cooler than we are, and we're not. We're just regular everyday dudes who like to put a dip in and sit on a boat somewhere. That's about it.
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned like you guys share a lot of stories, like, and you're wanting to start a podcast with all the stories you guys tell. You got any crazy like road stories you're willing to share?
Oh man, there's plenty. There's way too many. Our band is notorious. Like, so for example, today I've been on the bus with Will for the past 2 days, and they're actually pulling in right now. I can see them, but they were they called me at like 11 o'clock this morning after they got on the road, and they were like, yeah dude, we're running behind, the van started smoking, like that kind of stuff just follows us around. We're notorious for that. But man, there's one story that I'll try to make short and sum it up, because it's a really long one, and there may or may not have been some illegal activity in here that I'm not going to mention. But we played in Lubbock one day. We at Cook's Garage, and I guess there was a double booking of some sort. Like, we went there, we thought we were going to be headlining, not the big stage, but they have like a smaller stage inside, so we were going to play there. But as we're going up there, we find out that Colby Cooper, I think it was headlining inside. Headlining the big stage at Cook's. This was before they had the outdoor, like, ginormous stage. So they put us inside at this restaurant, and we play the show. Everything's fine. We stay there for the Colby Cooper show. But we just get, can I curse on this podcast?
You're good.
Like, out of our brains up. And our guitar player at the time, it's not our guitar player now, although he was there. Our guitar player at the time is he's like 5'5", 5'6", 120 pounds on a good day. Like, he's a small, wiry guy, but he is every bit of mountain lion mean. Like, this guy he's a good time, but he's aggressive. But and not like fighting. He doesn't ever get in fights or anything like that. He's just, he can hold his own. But for some reason this night he did. and he gets, in a fight. We get thrown out of this bar, and then after that we go back to one of our friends' houses to kind of like sober up a little bit before the drive. And my buddy, we don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden he's in the bathroom like throwing up everywhere, and we're like, dude, is he okay? Because he never gets sick. He drinks like a fish, never gets sick. So we're wondering like, what's wrong with this guy? And everyone's kind of going there periodically to check up on him. And finally, we haven't heard from him in a while. No one's gone checked up on him. I'm like, man, is he all right? And they're like, I don't know. So I walk into the bathroom, and he's over the toilet crying and just like snot everywhere. And he's like trying to throw up, but he's not throwing up. I'm like, dude, what is wrong? What happened?
It was just West Texas in his eye.
It was West Texas in his eye, dude, is what it was. But he's sitting there just throwing up, and I was like, what happened? And he turns around, he looks at me, he's like, I don't know. And so then after that, I'm like, we got to get out of here. So I throw him over my shoulder, take him to the van, hit his head like 3 or 4 times while I'm carrying him. And then we're driving home. We get pulled over. And it wasn't a good scene for us to be getting pulled over. Luckily, no one got in trouble with the law. Nothing bad happened. But then we had to drive 7 hours back home after that. And like I tell that story because it's the one that comes to mind. But they're all like that. Like literally, that shit follows us around.
It's like, man, that's the story, but it happens every other night.
Every other night, man. We can't, and we do a lot of it to ourselves. We're kind of a rowdy bunch. We like to have fun. We all known each other for so long now that it's like, going and getting drunk with your brothers everywhere. And obviously there's going to be fights, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. We've heard some crazy stories on the podcast about band fights.
Oh, yeah.
People getting stabbed sometimes. It happens, It just seems like that's a part of life when you're in a band.
It does. Man, we always joke around. Like, people ask if we fight, and we do. We bicker a lot, and it's just like any band does, but we never get physical with each other unless we're having we never get physical unless we are having the time of our lives. Like if we get mad at each other, we won't go to fists, but when everyone's like having fun, that's when we'll start beating each other. Man, it doesn't make any sense, but like when we're all drunk and having a good time, we'll start just punching each other in the face for no reason, and it's like you got to kind of watch your back because someone's going to come choke you out. That's when we have the most fun, I think. But yeah, we don't fight like that. We try not to.
You only fight when it's a good time. It seems like it should be the other way around.
You would think, man, and we've had some knockdown, drag out verbal arguments along the way for sure. We've screamed at each other, and I'm sure said things that we don't mean, but never gotten violent unless it's like, we're having a good time. We played Cotton Fest 2 or 3 years ago, and our drummer and guitar player just beat the absolute shit out of each other because we were having so much fun. And there's still pictures. Our guitar player's got a fat lip on stage, all purple, and it's good times though. We have fun.
Well, I'll ask one more quick question before we let you go. So I'm gonna steal your question if you don't mind. If someone was to like look into you guys, be like, or if you were to suggest 3 songs of your guys's for somebody that's trying to get into your music, what 3 songs would you?
That's a good one.
Thank you.
I can't take credit for it. It's
that's a great question. I think we have a song out right now called "Love in a Bottle" that we're really proud of, and people kind of latched onto. It's a little bit different of a direction than what we normally do. It's kind of like an R&B style, funky style song, but that's. The reason I say that's one of them is because we are so influenced by so many different styles of music. I think that kind of shows more than just the countryside. And we've been playing country and rock and roll stuff for so long, so I don't want to say we're better at that, but we're real familiar with that kind of style. So I would say "Love in a Bottle" would be one. There's a song called "Hesperia" that is a little more folk driven, but it kind of showcases more of like the softer side, I guess. It's a real melody driven song. "Love in a Bottle," "Hesperia," and there's got to be a rocker in there. It would either be "The Highway and the Boulevard" or "The Way to the World." They're both off the same album that we just released, but they're very. I'd probably say "Way to the World." It's like a straight up and down rock and roll song, but if you pay attention to the lyrics, it's got a little more depth, I think, than most people would think, because it's not just a rock and roll song. It's kind of like an attack on certain things.
I really like those songs that like you might listen to it the first time, like, man, this is a good song, like you can bob your head to it, and then like one day I'll like you listen to it, it's like, oh okay, like I've been singing these lyrics for like 3 months. I'm like, oh, that's what I was saying the whole time.
Exactly, man.
But those are always like the good finds.
I think those are the best ones, because like, you know, songs and songwriting is so much of lyrics, but it's also melody. And if something catches your ear, that's cool. But then to like have that, you know, the long game where you find a song that you like and it's pleasing to the ear, and then you like end up finding out by listening over and over again what it's really about and has depth. Those are the best songs in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
You got any social media you want to plug?
Yeah, dude. We're all on all of them. Shaker Hymns. I always say it's shaker like salt shakers. Hymns like a church hymn. HYMNS. I think Instagram is Shaker Hymns Band. I think Twitter is the same. Facebook is like Shaker Hymns. But if you can't remember any of that, shakerhymns.com has all of them. So shakerhymns.com will lead you to everywhere you need to go. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, all the jazz. We got music videos on YouTube. Don't look us up on TikTok because we're terrible at it. But
that seems to be a theme with like a lot of artists are really trying to get out on TikTok and put themselves out there, and it seems to be kind of a tough thing.
We're such degenerates that like if I posted half of the shit I wanted to on TikTok, we'd be banned. Like
you get canceled.
We'd get canceled quick, man, real quick. But yeah, Shaker Hymns Band for all that stuff. All the socials at shakerhymns.com.
Awesome. We appreciate you stopping by and giving us a little bit of your time.
It's a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all having me, man. It was fun.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sweet stuff.